So exploring new territories, what you find at the end is always unexpected. But what I like is the beginnings, the journey. So today I want to take you on a journey through some of my explorations. So this started about more than a decade ago when I was still a teenager. And like every other teenager, I wanted to play the guitar, have a band, and impress some girls. And I tried learning several times, and every time I tried, I always gave up because I was so impatient. So years later, I came across this phenomena, and I made this apparatus that you can see up there. It's something you wear on your hands, and it gives you a sensory illusion to your fingers, that the fingers, they feel as if they are moving forward or behind. So it's almost as if someone is guiding your hand. So with this apparatus, now you can imagine that you can download a song onto your hand. Yeah, download a song onto your hand and start playing without knowing how to play. So, of course, it didn't work as well as you see here. So, the next few years I spent in perfecting this technology, and I used it in different applications. So, for example, you could download a language onto your hand and start writing in Chinese, even though you don't know how to write in Chinese. So, of course, you might say that, you're trying to make me a robot. What is the point of learning now? So the way this works is the first thing it does is it teaches you. So you don't know anything at all, and it'll guide your fingers in the right direction. As you've learned, it'll only correct you if you're going wrong. And as you get even better, it'll only misguide you so that you find your new way, you find your new music, or you find something else. So, of course, I still didn't manage to impress any girls. Everyone thought I was a nerd. But I spent the next years looking at education, and not education from humans, but how would machines educate humans. So I also wrote a handbook for machines on how to teach humans. Years later, I then moved to Singapore. And in Singapore, everywhere I went, I saw this. And it's a phenomena everywhere, where all of us look into this 5-inch slab of glass to ask, what do you want to eat? Where do you want to go? The whole digital life revolves around a smartphone. That's how you explore the city. But where I grew up, I used to walk barefoot. Now, of course, those are some white man's legs. Let's pretend they're brown right now. So I started looking at how can I bring the joy of walking and exploring a city along with the advantages of the digital. So I started working on super shoes. So super shoes are basically these insoles which tickle your feet. So you can see those 3 ticklers up there. They tickle your feet from below. And there's a tap which senses each of your taps under your toe. And then there's some electronic shit inside. And this entire insole is made in silicon, so it's flexible, moldable, foldable, and most importantly, it is stink-proof. I mean, I'm talking to all of you guys who don't wash your socks every day. And you can take this insole and put it in any of your shoe, and any of your shoe will become a super shoe. So the way this works is with a tickling interface. So if the right foot tickles, take a right turn. If the left foot tickles, take a left turn. If no tickle, keep walking. If all tickle, stop. So of course, the first thing I did was navigation. I went around the city from A to B, getting tickled at every turn. But that still felt very limiting. So I started building this personality engine for the shoe. So now the shoe knows what kind of food I like, what kind of music I like, what are the places I like to go, my social preferences, and so on. The shoe also knows my current location, my task, my calendar. So now what happens is, I am new to Hamburg. This is my first time to Hamburg. And the shoes know that I like sushi, or maybe they know that I like to drink schnapps. So the shoes would tickle me, and they would tickle me, and they would take me to a place which makes really nice schnapps. And I would not know where they're taking me if I don't look at the phone, which is what I would expect you to do. They also help you remind things. So for example, I always forget picking up wine on the way back home. And when I'm in front of the wine shop now, the shoes would just tickle, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, have to pick up wine. But more than anything, I feel the art of getting lost is lost in our cities today. We just don't get lost anymore. We always know where to go. We always know where we are. So now with the shoes, what you can do is you can basically get lost. You can go around anywhere, everywhere. And when you want to get back home, you just tap your feet thrice. And the shoes take you back home. So this started my interest in wearables, and I started making a couple of things. This ended up getting spun into a company, and the shoes will be released soon this year with another shoe manufacturer. After all that, after Singapore, I was thrown out of the country, and I got asylum in Cambodia because of some other reasons, which can be a different talk altogether. And when I was in Cambodia, I used to live in Phnom Penh near the landfills, and yes, like a shameless tourist, I took photographs of kids playing in the landfills. And this was very close to my house, so I used to go there and look at these kids. No, not what you're thinking. But basically, all these kids, they used to make their own toys from trash. They used to use the Ethernet cables as to jump skip rope. They used to use speakers to play bowling ball and had their own games. So the more time I spent here, I started also making my own toys over there. So this was the first one which I made, which was this small module. It's a matchbox-sized module, the box, and you carry it in your pocket. So you can go to a landfill, pick up a keyboard, and plug it in, and the keyboard now becomes a piano. Or this one, where this is from an old calculator screen, and you plug it into the keyboard, and it asks you math questions. Now, of course, no kid ever likes this toy. And then this one, where you can plug in a speaker or a headphone, and it'll tell you stories. And as time went, these toys became smaller and smaller, and this was only the start, but at the end, we had a series of toys, and that led to this NGO called Open Toys, which open sourced all the designs. There were engineers and designers who took part in this, educationalists. And for the 3 years that I was with this, it grew from Cambodia to Philippines and Brazil. And then, as usual, I left. This time I left to Tokyo, and from children's toys, I started making adult toys. Now, don't ask me why I started making sex toys, because whatever I'll say will sound wrong. But anyways, that's something we can talk offline, but from Tokyo, I ended up moving to Cambridge. This is my way back home, where I used to walk every day. And one night, while I was walking back home, this really strong, muscular, tall guy confronted me, and he asked me for my wallet. So I gave him my wallet, and I told him I don't have cash. All of these are cards. And there's no point. I would anyways go back home and call the bank and cancel it. The next thing I know, he also took my phone because, so I can't call the bank. So when I came back and I started thinking about this, like literally the next 3 days, I was in trauma. Like I was scared to even go back home. And also, of course, because you can see, I don't have any muscles. I don't go to the gym. And I realized the reason I was scared was because this guy was so muscular. He had this, this imposition, and whatever I did, I could not face him. So I went back to my lab, and I started playing with some thermoplastics. And I made some synthetic muscles. And they're driven by this pneumatic engine at the back. And these are also very thin, foldable, flexible, sting-proof. And you can wear them under your clothes. And when you're wearing them, no one really knows that you have them underneath. They don't make any sound. They don't make sounds when you fold or anything. And they're very flat. And when I do this is when they get activated. So if you want to see, this is how it looks like. So you can see my left arm has the muscle, and the right arm is my normal arm. So the next few days, I walked back home with these muscles, and I think people thought I was the one who'd probably rob them. it was interesting because a few months later, I was traveling to Tokyo to show these muscles. And I got called in one of those random checks that always happen to me at the airport. Brown guys get lucky a lot. So at the airport, the customs guy, when he asked me what was this, and I told him, they ended up seizing the muscles, calling it advanced military technology. I mean, come on, if wars were won by show of muscles, I would probably be the Gandhi of the modern age. But anyway, so this led me to a whole area of exploring body and body mutations. So the next thing I was looking at was hair, because I have a lot of bad hair days when I get up. So I was thinking if there's a way I could program the hair. So I would basically, all those really fancy magazines have these really handsome-looking guys with good hairstyles, and somehow you just can never look like that. So what if you could take a picture of that, and then your hairstyle would automatically change, your hair would move to that hairstyle. So this was the very, very first. Yeah, this was the very first of the prototypes, which was also the last with this guy, because the circuit caught on fire, and he lost his hair, I lost a friend. But anyways, from there I moved to Boston at MIT, and this was my first week at MIT about 4 years ago now, 3-4 years ago. And as usual, I was happily drinking and was pretty much drunk. And then I went to the water cooler to cool myself off. So I poured in this entire glass of water and gulped it down in one go. It felt funny, but I was like, it's water. And then there was this guy next to the water cooler who started laughing. So I was like, wait a minute, what's going on? So it turns out they replaced the water in the water cooler with gin and tonic. So I ended up drinking a whole. The next thing I know is I woke up in the hospital next morning. And a lot of shit happened that night, which better we don't go there. But that, again, was this traumatic experience because I'm not a drunkard. I don't drink that much. And this was the first time it happened to me. So, of course, quitting alcohol is not an option. So, it is not an option, right? So I started going to bars and looking at how people behave, what do people do, how can I make myself more self-aware of what I'm doing. So as usual, I made some ice cubes. So these ice cubes have a small electronic circuit in them which measures your alcohol consumption level based on a small motion sensor. And they are sealed in this silicone food-safe, drink-safe jelly. So you can put them in your fridge and make ice cubes out of them. And they also respond to ambient music. So as the music is playing in the room, the ice cubes change their color, to respond to that. So what happens is when you start drinking for the first time, the ice cubes are green in color, and they strobe to the light, to the music. As you drink more, they become orange in color. If you drink even more, they turn red. If you still don't stop, they will send a text to your emergency contact with your location, asking them to pick you up. So this ended up being very viral, the ice cubes, and I started getting all these emails from strangers on the internet, things like, son, I think you should change your friend company to, I think you should visit the church more often, and so on and so forth. So it's interesting. The whole love of the internet comes over you sometimes. And starting from these ice cubes, I ended up working 2-3 years on the area of technology for self-awareness and mindfulness, and not essentially finishing tasks. So from last year, from Boston, I moved to Seattle, and I was diagnosed with a genetic disorder last year which affects my immune system. It's not life-threatening, but it made me think about time, about age, about purpose, and all that bullshit. And what I realized was technology as it is today, your photographs that you take, which you upload to the cloud, they would be as they are 100 years from now as well. But that's not how your memory works. Every time you think of something, your memory reminds you of a picture which is different than how it was when you first saw it. Life has age. Technology does not have an age. So since the last 1 year, I've been toying with bacteria which react to different environmental conditions. What I'm trying to do is, as the fundamental unit of electronic logic is the bit and atom, where you have the 1 and 0, it's a very definite state, 1 and 0. What I'm trying to do is I'm replacing that with bacteria, with a living cell, which can either be alive, it can be dead, or it can multiply. It can multiply. And by multiplication, it can duplicate itself, divide itself, and distort. So my hope is that's how I would end up making technology grow old and have an age and eventually die. And speaking of time, I think I'm pretty much out of time right now. So the one thing that I would want you to take today from my explorations, that I would want you to take, is this. No, not what you're thinking. I realized that the first thing you do is you need to fall in love with something, where it could be something that happened to you in your daily life. It could be something that makes you happy, that makes you sad, that you love doing or you are afraid of doing. But that love will drive you when you are exploring undiscovered, unknown territory. It'll be the source of energy for you. Once you're in it, you have to see. You have to see with all your eyes, up from the top, from the bottom, from the sideways, till you see the full picture. And once you do that, you must always do. You can't just think, you have to do, you have to act, you have to make. And whatever medium it could be, for me it was design, technology, and politics for some time. For you it could be journalism, could be speech, could be thoughts, could be painting, could be anything. But we should love, see, and do. And once you do that, please repeat. Thank you.